Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Productivity for Perfectionists. 2 weeks to transform your doubt into confidence, your overwhelm into clarity, and your endless to-dos into getting it done. I'm your host, Deborah Hurwitz, and today I am here with friend, colleague, and fellow masterminder, Angela Hryniuk. How's it going, Angela?
I'm doing really, really, really well, Deborah.
I
So thank
love
you.
all your I love all your colors. It's so cute. Let me tell the kids a little bit about you. Angela is an international speaker, author, Buddhist teacher, and trauma recovery specialist. Her scientifically proven accelerated transpersonal timeline method, ATTM, has transformed Olympians, millionaires, and top business leaders by resolving the hidden impact of childhood trauma. With over 35 years as a spiritual wealth and recovery expert, Angela has worked with the Dalai Lama, the King of Mongolia, the United Nations, and the President of India. She blends deep spiritual wisdom with practical strategies for real, lasting change. Well, yay. Clearly, we have some serious spiritual authority going on for us today. Okay, so here's what I want to do, Angela. I want to start keeping the promises of the summit immediately because everything that you do, your story is incredible. We're only going to hear a little bit of it, but people are going to get a chance to find out much more about you with everything that we've got going on around you, the links that they'll follow, and all the rest of that. But I want to actually solve some problems because this is your sweet spot. You actually do help people transform doubt into confidence and overwhelm into clarity and endless to dos into getting it done. So I pulled something from your Instagram that I was really interested in. You had sort of a surprise. I now have 1 million views on TikTok following last year, which I want to hear a little bit about. But you talked about a short video on anger and walking on eggshells that you did that got a tremendous response. And I can understand why, because so many of us are dealing with this. And I just want to share a piece of your post that I know our audience is going to be able to relate to. So listen up, you guys. So many of us were raised in homes where we had to tiptoe around someone's moods, where we had to shrink, be silent, or second guess ourselves just to stay safe. And those patterns, they don't just disappear when we grow up. They show up in addiction to food, alcohol, work, perfectionism, hello, codependency, overgiving, people pleasing, never feeling quite enough, relationships where we attract partners or clients who mirror old dynamics, mommy, daddy, anyone, business and money, undervaluing ourselves, struggling to receive, and feeling stuck. This is mostly all of our audience showing up today. And what you say is there is a way to clear what's been holding you back quickly, deeply, and permanently. All three, please. Please tell us what that is, Angela.
Well, I'll contextualize it a little bit. I'm coming from a recovery background from alcoholism, and I working with the mind and coming from like a drop dead drunk bottom, right, of hopelessness, suicide.
Mm,
Um, I started working with a therapist, and with therapy, recovery, my Buddhist background, and hypnotherapy, I created a modality 25 years ago and have been using it firstly in recovery rooms
hmm
with effects with my friends actually, and then moving it obviously into a business and then much further abroad. It is called the ATTM, the Accelerated Transpersonal Timeline Method. It's fast. It transpersonal means spiritual and psychological.
hmm
So it's transpersonal timeline, meaning we go back in time, clean something up, and come forward in time. Then we move forward in time and come back to present tense. So we move timelines,
hmm
and it's a method, and it's working with the mind and moving into our unconscious. Now,
hmm
if people like if they could clear all patterns through their conscious mind,
Yeah,
they would,
right.
right? Like they
Of course.
would.
Of
But
course.
the problem is that most of, like, 94% of who we are as we exist is
Yeah.
unconscious.
Yeah. I say this all
So
the time. 95% of our consciousness is what we don't know that we don't know. Like we're just not in touch with it.
safely, safely. So
Yeah.
the method goes down into your unconscious,
hmm
walks around, like that part of you meets different parts of yourself.
hmm
And that's where the healing begins,
Yeah.
down there. So I say to people, after you've finished with your psychologist, after you've done landmark, after you've done, the conscious level of healing,
Right.
come to me. Come to me. Come to mama who goes deeper. And I mean, it's remarkably fast. I
Mhm.
just started a cohort and we've just had 1 week and people are just popping all over the place. Oh my God, where's this coming from? And it's
Mm.
just that we need a method. We need structure on how to go down there and talk to those parts of ourselves. So that's what I created.
I love it.
Uh,
Okay. So So if we've got people, so one of the things I promise on the summit, right, is yes, of course, this is just a little teaser, a little taster. People are getting the flavor of who's which expert can help them on which thing, who feels like my person, and I love that piece, right, just connecting humans to each other. And I also promise something you can do right fucking now, because when I was in, and we're gonna hear about your story in a moment because it's quite extraordinary. But when I was the person who was showing up to summits like this, looking for what can I do, right? Like life is not working. I'm not comfortable in my own skin. I don't know how to be the age I am, the place I am, what's going on with my business, my marriage, what, all the places that I was, and I had my own can't keep doing it like this, need a change, right?
Mhm.
I was listening to conversations like this and
Mhm.
looking for, okay, what can I do today? And sometimes it's just like, in my case, it was something like, give yourself permission to feel how you feel, without trying to make it look good, without trying to make it pretty, right? Because I was coming from show business and you can't ever have a bad day, right?
Mhm.
It's like everything's amazing all day long, right? Simple things like that. If there was some way that somebody might be coming into your method, but it might not happen until next week or next month, what can they do today to take all of these doubts, all of the ways in which they're walking on eggshells? I'm unsure of myself. I wish I felt confident, because if I felt confident, then I could
Got that.
XYZ.
Sure,
What would you
sure.
tell them?
Well, the first thing I'd say is close your eyes
Mm,
and breathe. Close your eyes and breathe. And imagine a little golden triangle, a three-dimensional golden triangle on your nose,
mm,
and focus on that and come back inwardly. Because all of our anxiety, depression, all of it is outwardly focused. And
yes.
all of our answers are inside of us.
Mm,
And we just need a nanosecond to pause. And we don't ever get that. We don't get permission to pause. It's like take 15 minutes and go get a coffee, right? Which is going to ramp you up. So, it's never, we don't have the time. We're time poor, right?
mm,
And we have all the time in the world, but our mind keeps telling us no, no, no. So I just say, stop, close your eyes, and be intentional with your breath. I mean, it sounds so simple and so like, oh, come on, Ange, it's not going to do anything. But I tell you, I mean, I have been in hospital for my anxiety attacks,
yes.
right? So, and what do they tell you to do? Breathe
Breathe.
into a paper bag. Just breathe into a paper bag, and
Right.
then you're fine, and you feel so stupid. Like, why did I go
Yes.
to the hospital for this, right?
Why am I in the hospital? But exactly. I love that. And I think it's really important, especially for our perfectionists who want there to be these perfect, complicated setups, because our problems feel complicated and our feelings feel complicated. And we're dealing with this kind of chaos. And we're like, the solution of stop and breathe is not going to fucking work for me. And then it does. I've even had that, even as recently as last week. And you and I have been doing this. Well, you've been doing this work for 30 years. Or I've been doing this work for 10 years, 30 years if you count Landmark that I started when I was 12, right? But it's like, we don't want it to be that simple. Why? Because as perfectionists, then we just feel silly. Why didn't I
We
already know
complicate. We're
this?
complicated people who want a complicated solution, and the solution is very simple.
The solution
It's
is
not
simple.
easy.
That's
The
right.
other one is drop to your knees.
Ooh, I like that. Drop to your knees. Say more.
Drop to your knees.
Mm-hmm.
This one has put me in good stead, and then close your eyes. So if you know, like you're in a meeting and you're just like ramping out, it's like go to the bathroom and drop to your knees. And what that does is it immediately calms down your nervous system, because we have chakras on our knees
Mm.
that take us into our heart.
Mm.
Okay. And
Never
so
heard of knee chakras.
I know, but the Christians did. That's what they do. They kneel, right?
Oh, interesting.
Right.
So,
The
so kneeling
Muslims
is not about subordination of subservience. Kneeling is about
is about
calming
the
and communion.
yes, calming your into your heart, calming the brain and going to your heart. So that's
Connection.
another one. I mean, I remember I was at my brother's PhD graduation and all this foo-fur on it, and I was like, I was buzzing. I was so scared. Everything was going on. And I had this technique, and I went to the bathroom and I dropped to my knees
Mm.
and I
Interesting.
paused. And I say that to people, just change, do something different,
Yeah.
not not something that you already know how to do. Do something
Right.
different.
Yeah, it's a really important part to do something different, and an important point to do something different as opposed to what you always already know to do, which is spin and freak and breathe high and shallow in the chest and all the rest of that, right? So closing, I love the 3D golden triangle on the nose. That's a new one for me. That's like bringing the focus in here. And a
Mhm.
really important point also that all of the anxiety and the rumination and the freak out is located out there, or it's focused. The target is out there. What do I got to fix? What's going on out there, right? And to bring the attention back in here. Now, one last piece on this, and then I want to get into your story because speaking of overwhelming clarity, that's you are a shining example of how you created that. But what if, as I'm listening to this, I'm listening on behalf of my audience, right? And as I'm hearing you say this, I'm thinking, okay, but what if inside my head is the biggest mess of all? Why do I want to turn my attention in there if I'm trying to get calm? What happens if my brain is like, and it just won't shut the fuck up?
Okay, well, that's indicative of something deeper.
Hmm.
Okay, so if it won't shut up, then we need to apply deeper methods,
Hmm.
and we have to become aware of that.
Yeah.
Like again, it's first point of departure is always awareness. So
Hmm.
yeah, if you're spinning, there's something deeper that's going on, and something wants your attention.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
then, yeah,
and would
like,
you sorry, go ahead.
all excited.
So first point of departure is awareness. First point is awareness. And when you say, okay, there's something deeper going on, so would it be fair to say then that in that moment, rather than saying, oh, well, it's my head that's the problem, or my chattery brain is my inner critic is I can't stop thinking about, I can't, that sort of thing, that rather than going to this place where we ultimately get hopeless or desperate or angry, right, about how it is that we can't change, that we try on, it isn't about the thoughts I'm having in this moment about this situation. This is just the thoughts that are getting generated in this moment because of stuff that is much deeper, that happened much longer ago than whatever's going on in this situation or this circumstance. And so it's almost like I'm looking for where we can sort of give ourselves a break, you know what I mean? And
Well,
think about how.
for people to know that they're having a thought, they are not their thoughts, and so I
Mhm.
equate it to, like, do you remember the old Wrigley's chewing gum with the metal packaging that it came in,
Yes, the tinfoil.
the tinfoil,
The
and
paper
I
foil
used to,
combo.
yeah, like, so then you pull it apart. You've got the
Right.
tin, and then you've got the inside that the gum came in, right?
Totally.
Well, our mind is like that. Okay.
Mhm.
So on the inside, you've got your thoughts, right? And you want to peel away from the thought into the kind of tinfoil place, which is the observer of it. So that's where the slowing down comes in. And okay, so you're noticing it's going, 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 going. But who's noticing? You ask yourself that question, who's noticing? There is a bigger part to you
Mhm.
that is noticing you're having these thoughts.
Yeah,
That in itself, again, just that awareness will slow you down,
exactly. Changes so much. Yeah.
right? Like, and again, you peel away the Wrigley's gum, and you've got the two parts to it. It's like, oh, okay, I am not my thoughts. I don't need to believe my thoughts. I don't need to follow them. I don't like. I'm just having them. I can just notice.
Don't
It's like
need to believe my thoughts, kids. Remember that one.
the television is on, and you don't need to believe the program. You can change
Right.
the program, right? There's a lot of noise, a lot of fuzziness, maybe, right?
TV can change the channel. Love it.
It-
Thank you. Yeah.
Totally, totally. So, I mean, you're asking like a simple question for a deep answer, and
Yeah, yeah.
there's momentary reprieve,
Yeah.
and then there's long term. I got to deal with this. If
Yeah.
my mind is racing so much,
Yeah.
I'll just here's a little teaser for people too.
Please.
If you're anxious, you're thinking about the future.
Mm-hmm.
If you're depressed, you're thinking about the past.
Mm.
And it's all through the breath. If you're anxious, you're holding your breath.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're depressed, you're also holding your breath, but you're holding it on the exhale.
Wow.
So if you're anxious, you're holding it on the inhale. And
Interesting.
then, okay, come back and you breathe. But then if you get depressed, you breathe in, and then you breathe out, and you don't breathe back in.
Whoa. Okay, that's pretty
So
wild.
if you focus on, I got to breathe in again, I got to breathe life in, because depressed people don't bring in life.
Feel aliveness.
anxious people don't want to ground,
Mm. Mm.
right? It's
Yeah.
just, it's again, it's breath work. It's in that moment.
Yeah.
In that moment, I'm thinking about the future. I can't control the future. The past is over. The future hasn't happened. I'm just be here. Like,
Yeah. It's like
mm,
I've heard this in so many ways, so many times, but it's like we only have control over where we place our attention and the quality of that attention in this moment. And that changes so much, right? And we don't want to believe it. Perfectionists, we just don't want to believe it. But these are great little, I'll tell you, for the nerds in the house like me, I love that anxiety is holding on the inhale, depression is holding on the exhale. That's a really nice point and a really nice way to bring our attention to the breath. It's not just slow down, take a deep breath. Like we've heard that 400,000 times and we think we've tried it and maybe we've taken a breath or two and then we're right back into spinning out, right? So these
mhm,
pieces,
mhm,
even little things like I'm going to totally think about this 3D golden triangle on my nose and put my focus there, right? Because the busy spinning brain, all of the things you were talking about with codependency, addiction, all of the perfectionist mechanisms and bugaboos that we need a place to like put our left brain, put our attention that will actually allow some of these other things to happen, like that resetting of the nervous system or moving energy through the chakras or whatever language you speak around that sort of stuff, right? So,
precisely,
yeah,
precisely.
really helpful. Thank
Another
you.
easy one is just to do this.
Oh, bilateral
Yeah,
stimulation.
yeah,
Yeah.
just tap touching. And
Uh-huh.
actually, again, there's spin points on our arms that we're actually activating, as well
Spin
as
points?
energetic spin points.
What's a
So
spin point, Angela?
we are so much more than what meets the eyes, and we have 100 spin points of energy around and on our bodies. Okay,
This is a
and
new one.
we can activate them. This is not chakra. This is the electromagnetic field
Mm-hmm.
around us and in us. And if we can activate them, we can move the energy into them. We can also shut them down.
Mm.
Often anxious people are too activated. So we need to shut the spin points down. So there, we've got them here and here, and we put our hands here. And then this is also an EFT move, emotional freedom
Right.
technique
Tapping.
of just holding yourself like this.
Mm.
But it's this is called the way of the heart, which is mind gems, which is a whole modality as unto itself.
Wow.
Like toolkit is massive.
Yes.
I'm
Seeing that.
hugely
I'm seeing that.
resourced
Yeah, yeah.
because of all that I've had to go through and move through, and the anxiety, the depression,
Yeah.
the belief systems, all of it come through. And
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about that. Let's talk about your story in this frame of turning overwhelm into clarity, right? Because we've got a lot of overwhelm around, whether it's anxiety specifically or other things. We've got perfectionists who are trying to do all the things, whether they're micromanaging, controlling, or people pleasing, whatever the external validation mode is, right? There's a ton of overwhelm, and we're constantly dealing with that like escape from overwhelm, right? So whether it's addiction to substances, games on our phones, whatever the hit of relief or pleasure comes from, right? Overwhelm is a massive trigger into escape from what we mean and want to do. That's what this summit is all about. Productivity for perfectionists. What we want and mean to do. The stuff that's important but not urgent. The stuff that means something to us but nobody else is knocking down our door to do it, right? Create, connect, accomplish those bigger goals, launch the business, write the book, make the movie. They're not doing it. It's
mhm,
overwhelm. It's too big. It's too much. Can you
mhm.
share the parts of your story? And it's a big story that we don't have time for all of it today, but can you share some of those highlights or milestones where you personally transformed your overwhelm into some sort of clarity,
Sure.
including drunk rock bottom or whatever else you want to
Yeah.
talk
Well, I mean, let's turn the wheels back very quickly. So it was 1980, 97, sorry, 97, 95, 95, 96, 97.
about.
And I had my first bottom. 95, I had my first bottom. And by bottom, we mean like I want to die. I want to get out of here. I don't know how, like I'm going to do it, but that was the first surrender. And I call it a
Yeah.
surrender. And it's a place of I don't know what to do. And I want out. I'm
Mm-hmm.
done.
Mm-hmm.
I was suicidal since the age of 14 because of
Wow.
the use in my background, right? There was violence, there was all kinds of messy sexual abuse and neglect, and it just was not pretty.
Mm-hmm.
And I started drinking at 14, right? So
Mm-hmm.
move forward. I was an adult way too soon. That's the
Mhm.
bottom line. And many of your listeners will relate to that. That's it, walking on eggshells, having to people please and take care of everything.
Right.
So I turned to alcohol. I turned to sex. Then when I sobered up, I turned to money. So
Mhm.
I've gone through all these different layers. So keep turning.
Sorry, when I
Yeah,
got sober, I turned to money. You can come back to that if you want, because there's so much to
sure.
talk about just in everything
Yeah.
you're saying.
Yeah.
How was money like alcohol or sex?
Oh, well, I had a benefactor. So I
Okay.
sobered up
Yeah.
and then I went back to get my master's degree. And I put a prayer out there, as as we do. I would love to go to university and not have to pay for it. Like, I don't know how that can work, but poof, a
Mm-hmm.
benefactor showed up. So a benefactor is somebody who paid my way, gave me a monthly, and he gave me a hefty monthly allowance um, to do my master's degree. Well, when somebody gives you a hefty monthly allowance and you're so, like you're sober, but your patterns haven't yet changed and you're still looking for outward validation, like
Uh,
I like the money, right? And he would say, where do you want to travel to? What books do you want? Like the world was open and it was more like, I want more, I want more. And
uh,
yet,
okay.
we say addicts have we're egomaniacs with an inferiority complex, right?
It's hilarious.
And we want to fill that hole, that void, that uncomfortableness, the
Got it.
anxiety,
Okay.
all of that hole.
Fill in the
So
void. Yep.
probably in today's dollars, it was like 10 grand a month, right? For
Okay,
somebody
what
who,
were you doing for this benefactor, Angela?
okay, so nothing. He was a Buddhist. He was sort of almost like my grandfather's age. So in Buddhism, it's a well-worn tradition of benefacting, right? So he benefacted other people too. Like he helped people go through school, monks, nuns, etc.
Mm,
So that I had to, I mean, I finished my master's degree in 4 years, but I couldn't let go of his money
okay.
because I became dependent upon it.
Mm-hmm.
Just like we become dependent on a job, or we become dependent on a marriage, or we
Yep.
become dependent on a substance. I
Yep.
became dependent on it. And I mean, he helped me move up the chain so that I had more self-esteem and my foundation was higher,
Yeah.
but I was still dependent on something outwardly to
Yeah.
giving me solace and security. When
Okay.
in fact it comes from within. We have to get to a place where you can be $500,000 in debt and be safe and secure and happy, right? Like there is that place.
There is
A
that.
lot of businesses run like that, like it's like, so when I had to start giving up the money, it was really, really tough. I
Okay,
mean,
hold on. Two things I must hear about here. So I'm going to come back to overwhelm and into clarity for a moment, because even though this is not a story about getting sober, I do want to feel into like what were the, and it might not be just one moment, right? Our stories are so rich in texture. It's not everything happens in one moment, but
yeah.
some shift for you where it's all too much, right? It's just all too
Well,
much
to
to
me,
some sort of clarity of a next step, whether that was getting sober
sure.
or whatever, or
Yeah.
finding the benefactor. And then the other piece, and you can go in whichever order you want. But yes, there are a lot of people in this audience who can relate to being dependent on a source of income or dependent on a relationship and feeling, how do I leave? How do I change this? I can't, or I don't want to, frankly, right? Like I want the comfort or the safety or the
Yeah.
security, even though I
Yeah.
know it's holding me back in
Yeah.
myself. I don't
Yeah.
want to change this. Why would I want to change this? So I want to go to both of those places. What do you want to hit first?
Okay, well, I'll go to the two times. I mean, when I dropped to my knees with alcoholism, it was like, yeah, I can't go on. I just want to die, and I tried it my way, and I'm a pretty smart gal, but I didn't think I was. And
Mm-hmm.
if I could have figured it out, I think I would have, but I couldn't. I couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
And I now know it's because it's not a thought thing. Like health and wealth is not about just thinking your way there. It's a bigger proposition. It's about, your perceptions. It's about your feelings. It's about your connection to the divine. It's big.
Yeah.
I just was thinking, and that's where your overwhelm comes from. It's just thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking. And we've got to change the channel. There's many rooms in the house, and you're only living in one. There's many, many rooms in your house. So,
Mm-hmm.
so then the money piece was, he started saying things to me you can't do it without my money. You
Ooh.
won't make it without my money.
Ooh.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a fighter, and them's fighting words. And, the first time we had, it was a long relationship and a very complicated relationship.
Yeah.
There was no, he was enamored of me. I came to realize that. People would say, he's in love with you, Angela. And I'm like, oh, he's not. Because my denial was
We're
so,
always so naive about that stuff. We can't
yeah,
see it.
it's like they're an odd couple, eh? It's like they're not a couple. Like, so
Right.
anyway,
Got it.
when you started using those kind of words, I said to myself, I'd rather be on welfare than accept his money. I would rather anything. I would, it was again a bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And it took me time. So I think what's really important for your audience to know is that it's not always on the first try, and you're not a failure. It's like it's a muscle. It's a
Mm-hmm.
muscle that we're using again and again, how to put boundaries up, how to say no, and accumulate our resources and have community and tell people, so that the first time, like I remember the first time it was a month, I didn't accept his money for a month.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have to go back to him because I paid my rent, but I couldn't afford anything else.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt mortified, like a total failure.
Yeah.
And he's like, see, it tells you so. And I was like, oh, like
But
it
you
took,
didn't give up.
no, I didn't give up. And I was getting stronger and stronger and more belief in me.
Yeah.
And it took about a year. And same with my sobriety. I sobered up 3 different times. Right. And I was doing it on my own. I was white knuckling it. And I don't
Yeah.
suggest that, but I
Yeah.
didn't think that's a problem.
Yeah. Yeah. These
All of,
This is
yeah.
such beautiful compassion. It's a really important kernel, right? That you're not going to always get there on the first try. You're almost never going to get there on the first try, especially when it's something big, like getting sober or getting off of somebody's 10 grand a month allowance from zero, right? It's so important when you're saying no, accumulating resources, setting boundaries, right? You're not a failure when that doesn't work out either at all or up to the exactly the way you expected. And so much of the time perfectionists are like, oh, that didn't work, I guess that's not for me, right? Or that didn't work, I guess I'm a failure. That didn't work, right? Because as you said, I was mortified, right? And we have such trouble tolerating those feelings because we think it means something about us, right? I'm the failure, I'm stupid, I'm incompetent, right? And any venturing forth, whatever the feedback is, whatever the result, oh, it means something about me, right? And the way you're putting it is so simple. Again, not necessarily easy, but just to have that reminder, this is a process. It's big stuff. You're not necessarily going to get there on the first try. Don't give up. Keep going for what you really want, whether that's that independence or saying no or being resourced. I love health and wealth are not about thinking your way there, right? That's such a probably the best single point about overwhelm that I've heard yet this summit, right? Is like if you're feeling overwhelmed, it's not actually about your feelings, it's about your thoughts, right? You're
Yeah.
thinking your way to overwhelm.
You're
And I
telling
love,
you're telling yourself all these things like I'm stupid, I'm fat, I'm not good enough, and then it's like, well, how can I possibly go and write that letter? Because
right.
I'm all of these things. And you've told yourself that,
Yeah,
right?
and
You've,
that's that ultimate thought. It's too much. It's too much. It's like that's sort of like the brand and label of overwhelm. It's too much. It's too much, and that's something we're telling ourselves, right? It's something that we're telling ourselves, whether it's about us or about the to-do list or about whatever anybody's asking, right? It's like I can't. It's too much. It's like a judgment, right? It's not actually a feeling. It's like a judgment, and you're pointing that out in terms of those thoughts. And
Well,
I
and perfectionism, I don't know if your audience is aware, is actually an illness. It's in the DSM.
it's an
Okay,
ism.
so the diagnostic manual of whatever within the mental health community, and it's because it's unattainable,
Yeah,
and it's completely a loop, a mental health thing of a loop,
yeah.
right? It's completely unattainable. What I like to how I reframe it with my folks is that strive for excellence.
Exactly. And we talk about this a lot, absolutely. And I just want to massage what you said ever so slightly, right? Because when I'm bringing productivity for perfectionists, those perfectionists together, right? It's everybody. There are people who are contending with tons of whether it's categorizable or diagnosable. So I am not a psychologist, psychiatrist, or doctor. I do not make medical diagnoses. And when I use the term perfectionist, it's not a clinical diagnosis. Everybody who's here, I'm not saying, and Angela is not saying that you're ill, right? There are ways in which we have have perfectionistic tendencies, and there may be a diagnosis, there may not be, but the distinction of fearful, driven, can't ever stop searching for something that doesn't exist or where the goalposts will always move is different from striving for excellence and holding high standards for success. And those things, we sometimes, as perfectionists, the kind of perfectionists I'm talking about, right, we will have that really good looking, unassailable narrative of, I just want it to be great. I just want to do everything right. Right. And it looks good. We're striving. We want to do, but really, and we've had other experts talk about this as well. There's a way in which we're copping out, right? We're withdrawing from participation or contribution at the level of the difference we really want to make. And so we got to acknowledge it's not actually about getting it right. It's about feeling safe and not feeling fear. And that's never going to happen.
Our humanness,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Our
Again, it's
humanness, exactly.
outwardly, oh, they're much better, they're much smarter, they're more whatever, talented or successful or whatever. And it's like every single one of us suffers. And
Yeah.
it's our humanness. So join humanity.
Mm-hmm.
If you're finding you're in that perfectionist mode, it's like, okay, I'm going to give myself a break, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Let me breathe. And it's those baby steps. I learned this really well in recovery because in recovery, you lose time. Like you feel like you lose time.
Oh, interesting.
And, like you're in a recovery center or you're going to recovery meetings and it's like, what a fuck up, and here I am sitting in another meeting and I'm watching all these people, move ahead and what's wrong, a lot of comparative stuff.
Yeah.
And that comparative stuff is harmful. We reframe it. We learn to reframe it. And eventually, the slow one now will later be fast. We have to retreat
Mm-hmm.
to advance.
Mm.
But nobody's telling us that. Everybody is like, chop, 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 chop. Get it going, get it
Yes.
going. And put the gas on. And it's like there's seasons to people's lifetimes.
Yeah.
There's seasons. You have to slow down to
Mm-hmm.
plant the seed. We're always poking and how come that's not growing? And I'll put more water on it. And it's like, well, now it's dead. And like, what did I do wrong? It's like, chill. There's a God and it's not you.
Thank you so much for that. I think that's actually a beautiful place to close. In we have to retreat to advance. There are seasons for things, right? I'm thinking of that song, "To Everything, Turn, Turn, Turn." There's a season, turn, 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 right? And that taking that way in which we might beat ourselves down, in your case, recovery, but whatever we're dealing with, whatever healing, whatever improvement, whatever transformation, that we beat ourselves down when there's any sort of step back or when there's a day that I'm too tired, I just can't, right? And we just relentlessly beat ourselves up and down for that. And just to give, as we started to talk about permission, right? This is humanity. We're not machines, even though we're living in quite a machine-oriented, machine-driven world. And not just we need to sleep and eat and that sort of thing, but in the realm of our progress, our transformation, in the realm of our healing and getting better and doing what we mean to do, it's necessary that we sometimes slow down. You say the slow one now will be fast later, right? There's almost a tortoise and hare reference there, right? Of like, I'm gonna stay present to what is going on with me. I'm gonna stay focused on what it is I'm doing. I'm gonna face a really uncomfortable 15 minutes with the blank page because I really want to have a book at the end of this, and spinning and racing around and pushing it off for some later time has not worked so far. So I'm gonna do something different, right? Breathe, calm down, take 10 minutes, let it be shitty.
Yeah.
Like get better after
Well,
that.
and to be honest, if you don't, and we all know this place, the divine comes in and kicks you in the butt. It'll bench you.
Mm,
It'll bench you out of the game.
yeah.
It'll give you a sprained ankle or you'll get sick and you'll be benched. I call it benched, like to have that break.
That's interesting.
The game is
Yeah.
going on and you feel like I'm not part of it. I'm not part of it. And it's like, no, 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 you're part of it.
Yeah.
You're just sitting on the sidelines for a bit to regroup. Maybe
Yeah.
you're in, maybe you gotta do whatever, get yourself together, but
Yeah.
you'll get back in the game, right? We can't be in the game all the time at
Can't be the
100%.
game all the time, exactly. And there are people who have been on the sidelines for far too long, and that's why they're here, is they want to get back into the game of their lives, right? And so it can work either way, but as you're saying, it's that
Oh,
ebb and flow. It's that ebb and flow. And
oh,
whether it's divine
oh,
or universe or your mind-body connection or parts of your brain or body, whatever you want to call it, right? There are like ways in which the chattery monkey brain, the very limited, I just know what I know piece of the brain is just not the whole thing, as you said. And like you said before, there are so many rooms in the house. I love that metaphor. There's so many rooms in the house.
yeah, like go visit them, go be in them
Go
instead of
be
just the
in
one,
them.
like, I gotta go think about it. Like,
Yeah.
go physical fitness brain for part of you, or go spirit, or go in the
Yeah.
part of you that wants to be creative. Like,
Yeah. Beautiful. Love that. Thank you, Angela. Thank you so much. This is a lovely conversation. Of course, just the beginning. All your stuff is here. People can get to you and learn more about you and hopefully work with you. I really appreciate this conversation. Thank you so much.
thank you for inviting me, and it's an honor. And I hope your audience gets something out of it. And I look forward to meeting some of you guys. So,
Yes, absolutely. All right, you guys, this is Angela Hryniuk. I'm Deborah Hurwitz. Come back for our next episode of Productivity for Perfectionists, and we will see you soon.